Yeah. So we have been a little delinquent the last couple of weeks now that we're actually live. For various reasons. Vacation. Uh-oh, hold on a second. I have my YouTube going in the background. So I'm hearing myself about 3 seconds after I've said what I've said. Yeah, so we've been a little delinquent because of various happenings going on in our lives, but we're back. And I think we're both happy because we got to do some fun things today.
We do.
What do we have on store? If anybody actually hears this, we have a workshop coming up in a few hours at 1:00.
Eastern time.
Eastern time. Thank you for that, because yeah, I take for granted that most of our friends are here. Anyways, yeah, so we're doing a cool workshop on how to oh my god, what's the name of the one?
Finding coaching moments in everyday conversations.
Yeah, so that's gonna be fun.
It
We're gonna let people color outside the lines of what we normally teach people to do. So that's gonna be fun to see how that actually works in reality. How are you doing other than that? So check in.
I'm doing great today. I feel happy. The sun is out. I had a birthday party for my granddaughter yesterday, turned 5, and she reminded me just to be in the moment and dance and sing and play. And I have family tomorrow, so this is my happy zone when I know I have that kind of love and support and time with my family. How about you?
Good for you. Feel a little lighter today. I always feel a little stressed when I have any kind of evaluation on the on deck, and I had that last night. So now it's behind me. At least the performance version of it. Now I have to hear what the feedback is, but that's a different animal. And I think I'm less concerned about that side of it than the performance.
Cool.
So yeah, that's done. And it was a new version. I had to record myself. So I had to wear a microphone and videotape myself. So it was just another level of newness that was added to it that you had to worry about. And the phone that I had to use to record when I picked it up only had 20% left on it, battery life. So I was trying to if I can throw it on the charger for like 5 minutes, maybe I can like amp it up, and then I can turn it on just before class starts, and maybe that'll be just enough. Anyways, turns out I got 56 minutes out of the 60 minutes recorded, so not bad.
Cool.
So they'll have to deal with it.
Just to add a little bit more to your performance anxiety.
Well, yeah, because you're dealing with another level of things that are a little outside of your control, and when they're new, you don't have that level of comfort to deal with the newness.
Well, how come that always lines up with where I want to go today in our conversation?
That lines up? Newness? Well, let's share the title of today. How coaching has changed the way we show up. And I don't know if you noticed, but probably not because I set it up at the last minute. The thumbnail for today, the image that I showed, was a butterfly that had just come out of a cocoon, out of its, yeah. So, because we talked about the hammer and I was using the hammer, I'm like, no, today, I'm like, all the images that I was trying to run through to try to get a cool looking image came back as like a workshop with a hammer. I'm like, no, this is not what I want. So I went with our typical butterfly metaphor, because that's what we've used now for what seems like the longest time, and it's still in our logos now. So
yeah, cool.
So where do you want to take our topic today of how coaching has changed the way we show up?
Well, I thought it might be for me just to share a little bit about how I started, or how coaching kind came into my world, and a little bit about what showed up for me and how it shifted the way I show up as I started to journey more into the coaching realm of the work and of the practice. What about you? How do you want to approach yours?
Oh, I'm going to let you run with that. I had a quick list of things that I want to touch on, and I'm going to see how they interweave with what you've got on your mind.
Well, I wanted to start, like, I was in my early 40s when was exposed to coaching it was in the workplace. It was in my job description all of a sudden, and I didn't know what it meant at all. And luckily there was a couple of workshops that were starting to show up to talk about coaching and how to use it in the workplace and how can managers coach staff. So
can you give me a sorry, I'm oblivious to time and space. So in your 40s you were exposed to this. When was that? Like
it was years 20. The first time I got exposed, it was 26 years ago.
So, no. So that was when? Sorry, that was 2000.
Oh, 2000. Yeah, sorry. You want a date?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, I went to a workshop. That's where I met the person I've talked to as a mentor, Paul Lefebvre. And I thought I was introduced to a couple of cool tools, some that we use in our stuff. And I really thought, okay, I've got a couple of tools in my toolkit as a manager. But it kept coming up. The next thing you know, I'm in another program called Women Leading Change. And sure enough, you're not even knowing it's about coaching. There it is again. And I was a little resistant. So I want to talk about who I was. I thought, this is kind of uncomfortable. I'm not really used to being with people this way and kind of having conversation this way. So I just really wanted to have a couple of tools on my belt, but I would say I was a resistor. It was very contradictory and contrasting to what I thought, how you were supposed to be as a leader, as a manager, how you spoke, listened. So it was there was a.
And why is that?
Well, what I would say is that it meant I needed to be softer and be able to let me absorb others, like give the other more space, to slow my way of engaging down, which I have been rewarded for my capacity everywhere in my life on, getting stuff done. I could articulate very well. I could guide people through things. So it was, something that I had been rewarded for so much. And what this was saying was, well, that's not a bad thing. However, is it something that serves in all situations? Mm. So I started to notice that, and I also felt unconsciously a deep longing for this, that when I was in it, when I was seeing it in action, there was something inside that warmed me. And I thought, this is important, but it scared me because it meant I had to shift. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Change is uncomfortable. There's a reason why they call it the comfort zone, right? I don't like change either. I never have. I always get the same thing at Subway. You have your restaurant, you have your order. It's like, yep, I know what I'm getting. I'm getting this at this keg. I'm getting this at Subway. I'm getting this at McDonald's, whatever. You just, for me, I don't want to have, and when they tell you, oh, that machine's broken or the thing is not available, you're like, oh, what do I do? I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So yeah, I totally understand that, because coaching will put you in a space where you have to challenge your assumptions, potentially let go of the way that you've thought about something to let in a new version of what that could be. That, for a lot of us, is very uncomfortable. And now we do it to other people. And I think you need to have experienced it from that side to be able to put other people in that situation as well and be okay with them struggling in that space. So, yeah.
Well, that's the normal and necessary shifting, to let go of your comfort zone. You just described it so beautifully, Ian. And sometimes a broken machine is a bit of, the universe is saying you're not getting that, to let something different in. I remember Pema Chödrön talked about this, that as we age, especially as we aged, and so my time, comfort is important. We like our comfort. We have a lot of history of comfort. But what happens when we stay in our comfort zone is we shrink And you see that as people age, as they their, the family unit changes, their social network changes, they can often, if they don't expand themselves and put themselves out there in different situations, their comfort zone actually gets smaller. So what I would say to you though about my personality is that I actually like lots of different things, but I'm a surface changer. I'm kind of, I like lots of different activities and try things out, but I don't go very deep into them. And what I knew right away is this was not just about the stuff I was going to do with others. It was inside work too. And I think that's what probably, I'm going to use the word, scared me the most, because I hadn't really done any of that. I hadn't been exposed to the internal capacity, the self-awareness side of development. I was more on the doing side. I grabbed a tool and I could make it work. So this was now an awareness that I had some catching up to do in here.
Yeah, that I can relate to that a lot. I think the awareness piece is, I think coaching has heightened my ability to become more aware. I don't know if I'm always aware.
No.
Because I want to say I think all of us are more unaware and unconscious most of the day and most of the time. However, coaching has opened me up to be able to become aware if I'm open to it. So I will have my spin outs and freak out about life and how things aren't quite working the way I want them to. But when I can get still and be, I have the ability to see things and hear things and do things differently. So I want to say that's maybe 5 to 10% of the time for somebody who practices this on a regular basis. So it has opened up the possibility for me to become aware of certain things when I'm ready. And that's why when I'm actually in the practice of coaching and I'm freaking out about how am I going to get this person out of this situation? How am I going to fix it? What amazing question am I going to ask? When I'm there, I'm in that 90% of the unconscious version of me who's trying to control it all. When I can be the 10% or 5% of me who's just like, relax. They've got the answer. It's inside them. It's not my problem. If I can just hold space quietly enough, they're going to give me a clue while I'm present, which will lead to the question that will allow them to open up and have their own awareness. So I have to invite it in them when I'm in the right space. So it's made me a different person when I open up and allow that 5 to 10% of me to be who is the natural version of me anyways, I think. And I've piled on with all this other egoic problem, unconscious stuff. That was a lot there, but I think that for me encapsulates how I'm able to be and how coaching shifts me in general.
An example for me, to build on what you just said, is you said something really important. That is, it's an intentional practice, self-awareness, being aware. And so just, to show how my development when I first got into that, when I ended up, because who I am, I needed a formal program to be able to stand and stay in it. Because remember, I talked about I'm a hopper. So I knew the rigor. I needed the rigor for me. So I just want to point out that not everybody has the formal program. I needed it personally, and I knew that. And my mentor knew I needed that. So the very first coaching session I had with the teacher, Joanne Hunt, and at Integral Coaching Canada, she asked me to grab a pen. And she says, now tell me how the pen feels. And I'm looking going, I have no idea what she wants me to do. I could not feel my pen. I was so out of my body. My way of being is I have a really busy mind. I'm a head person. And I remember sitting there going, I can't feel the pen. And she was asking me to like walking me through some, just notice. And I just finally said, Joanne, I can't feel the pen. Like, I just can't feel it. That's how out of my body I was. So in order for us, you said something really important, to be here, it's in here. So I needed to, that's where I started. And my first practice, do you know what my first practice was? To notice my hands in the water when I'm washing the dishes. So development, I just want to go on about like learning to be in your body. It doesn't have to be this big, we meditate for an hour and feel your, that's helpful. That was part of my practice down the road. But just, that was my first step. Remember we talk about the right first step?
Right.
To just notice my hands in the water, because I did dishes every night. Feel the warmth. And she just said, just notice it. Don't put. So that was my starting of my journey to get inside here. And the reason why is that your intuition's in your stomach. Your emotions are in your chest. I was like dead from the neck down. Unaware. I was still.
Weekend at Bernie's. We're dragging you around, Karen.
I'm having fun with myself, because that's the other thing I needed to learn, was to not be so heavy-hearted about my development, because then the head gets involved. Like you said earlier, you're not good enough, you blah, 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 blah. So I had to have this lightheartedness about my development. So getting inside is where self-awareness comes from, where connecting to others comes from. So that was my work, was from the neck down.
This part was okay?
Well, it needed help too, but this needed to be connected in order to help me shift, cognitively how I was processing as I was listening. But I had a lot of work in the bottom lower part of my extremities, and I was so grateful for that. So it was, I feel indebted for that regardless of if I ever coached at the end of my certification, if I didn't have a client, it didn't matter who I was being, how I showed up. I felt the ripple effect with my children and my spouse and my friends and with myself. And, that just was wonderful to have the development of what coaching can offer us. We talk about language, it's about building our capacity as humans. Because where do we have this opportunity to learn that? I didn't up to my 44 years of life. It wasn't till I got in here into this learning space of coaching that I started to realize, well, we're a whole person.
And I still don't think we're there in school.
No.
Which for me is crazy. So it's almost like all of that, and it seems like this will be like this for a while, unless something drastically changes, that the internal work, which is amazing, integral part of our development as beings, is internal, and it won't happen until after you're done school, or you're exposed to it in a different way from a parent who's maybe a little more open or whatever. So I think we're still of service.
Well, and I think that's our intention, is to create the space where those bite-sized practices, will help us, we decide what we need, but it's a full body workout so that we can start to learn that. And I love that we get to do it together, because I've said this before, it's much easier. We can't unlearn alone. Just having other people on the journey with you, but also giving you feedback and observations. It's helpful. I appreciated, and that's the other part of what the program I was in, it was a cohort. So I wasn't by myself. I had, peers giving me feedback. I had teachers. I needed all that rigor. I know that about myself.
It's funny because you need the rigor, and I want to, as much as I appreciate a framework, I don't like rules. So, I mean, you've gone through the Integral Coaching Canada program and became a certified coach. I went through the Relationship Coaching Institute in California to get my kind of base level of coaching. And then I didn't get certified because something inside of me said it wasn't for you. Like, it wasn't for me to go and get that. And I think it's because I felt like I might be hamstrung by rules that I didn't necessarily 100% be on board with. So for me to be authentic, I couldn't go through with it. And even Paul at one point was like, well, maybe you want to go back and get like your certification. It might be easier to get work in government and stuff like that. And he's probably correct. fact that it would have been easier for me to get contracts and whatnot, but it didn't feel like it was aligned with me for whatever reason. And partly because I think maybe coaching it's an aspect of me, but it's not the whole me. And I couldn't get on board 100% with, I guess, the rules of coaching. So,
can I challenge you in a good way?
Yeah, of course you can.
Because what I know about you, because I've traveled alongside you for 12 or 13 years, that doesn't mean you haven't gone and got development. I think what I know about you is you intuitively, that is your gift. That's where your baseline is. You chose what you needed. So you were whatever, because you said the word rules and and I used the word rigor. The structure, you chose where you wanted development and what you wanted to bring into your development. The thing about coaching is, what do we bring to every conversation? Ourselves. And so there are so many millions, how many are involved in this world of, helping others grow and develop. There's many different ways because we show ourselves up as ourselves. For me, it was, I needed that because I knew I needed that, not because to be recognized and seen as the best coach in the universe, which I'm not. I know that. I'm one of many great coaches in the universe.
There you go.
But I knew myself well enough that if I did it your way, I probably wouldn't finish it. I'm an 80%er.
Oh, yeah.
So needed, when I say rigor, I want to just clarify. It wasn't that it was rules driven, and I know my personality. I joke around. I'm an 80%er. I finish at 80% and then I move on to the next thing. And that's giving me generosity of 80. Sometimes it's 30. You just come around my house and see my tasks, which has been a great practice for me. So it's whatever you choose. It could be you're getting enough out of these 1 hours to start to build some confidence around putting on those coaching shoes with other people you love or care about. It doesn't matter to me, but I just had I knew I needed that to fulfill the deep desire inside of me. I needed that to do that for me.
You're highlighting what I think I've touched on briefly, is that there's no one right way. There's the right way for you. There's the right way for me. There's the right way for the one person who's listening right now, watching right now. We all have the answer inside of us. We have our own personal path, and whatever you decide, if it's destiny or not, or whatever, it's your path. You're the one who's going to decide and live that journey. It's not for any of us to live and work on that path. You decide. So I could have all the greatest advice and the best intentions for you and offer you advice on something, and it could be completely off base because it's not for me to live. It's for you to live. So why should I be imposing on somebody else what they want? I mean, anytime I've made a big decision, there's been lots of people on the outside of me who are like, "Hey, sure you should be doing that? Is that a good idea?" Blah 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 blah. And for them, yeah, not a good idea. For me, it either resonated or made sense for me, and that's why I did it. So that's one of the biggest things for me to hold on to, is that I don't have the other person's answer. So if I can help somebody uncover what that is for them, that's how I would rather be, instead of insisting that they follow a path that I did.
I love that. I want, and I think it just aligns to who you are, and so coaching is so connected to who you are anyways. But I wanted to talk about my second thing, how I've changed how I showed up. And this was in the last part of my certification. And I still felt totally incompetent. But I was the practice was to sit beside one of the other person that was in the program with us. And it was east, north, south, west practice. So what it was designed to do, and we just did a session on this, was to ask a question and have people look at their development from a different perspective. So they just used the compass as a way, and we literally moved around. So we shifted our physical position.
Nice.
So yeah. And the question was asked. Now, the person it's paired up. The person you were paired with, when they were doing the practice, you were just to write down what they were saying. That's all you were supposed to do. You know, you would ask the question, then all you did was write everything down for them. So when it became my turn to be the writer, and my partner was going around, and all I was doing was writing, all of a sudden what happened to me, that practice, I thought it was for them. It was also for me. Is that I never spoke. I didn't move. I just wrote. I was quietly present, listening deeply. And I get teary-eyed because this is probably my biggest shift in my life, is I bawled my eyes out for an hour after that practice. And we were journaling, and I was waiting for the teacher to come over and give me a hug, and I never got anything. No one touched me. I went through 2 boxes of Kleenex. I looked horrible. I know that. But what the next day we had to talk about, because this practice was to say, well, what's your edge development as a coach? And I sat across from the teacher and I said, I want more of that. I just want to be with somebody and hold them and listen deeply so that they can emerge. I just want to be there. Do nothing and just be here and here with them. And I have that gift for me, regardless of coaching clients. It was profoundly deep and developmental for me. I get to do that with my grandchildren. And I wouldn't have had that. I can have them on my lap, and I can just be with them and absorb them and let them talk and just physically hold myself with them. And it is the most peaceful, loving thing I do for myself. So I'm grateful that this practice of knowing and development of just showing up, you said the word just being there. When you can soften yourself and just show up and be present, you're correct. When you're listening, they're giving you something. That's how you're discerning how to support them. And it helps you inform them yourself of what's the question that I could ask that could continue for them to expand and grow and know where they want to go and what deeply matters and what's the right next step for them. So that practice was, like I said, one of those breaking me wide open, and found my deep, deep, deep desire to be more like that in my life. Yes, that doesn't happen every day. This is not what we turn on 24/7. But I have certain spaces now. Now I may be rapidly thinking, when am I going to get the kids for supper or the grandkids? And then I remind myself, it doesn't matter. I'm here right now. They're rubbing my hand. Oh my gosh, they're close to my heart. They're going to be 10 years old and not want to sit on my knee. And oh no, it doesn't matter, Karen. They're 5 now, so relax. That practice of just immersing myself in the moment with them. So happy I can do that. I do not believe I would have had that development without being exposed to that development in the coaching realm.
It sounds like you were given the gift of vulnerability.
I don't know whether I'd use that word vulnerability, but I was given the gift of just being here, just not having anything else but the moment in front of me.
What I mean by vulnerability in this sense is like your openness, like being completely open to either allow space for somebody else. Like when you're talking, I'm like, I don't know, I've lost count how many times I've cried in front of you, because the space is always open and judgment-free and loving, that holds that space. And that's what I mean by vulnerability. Because when you allow that space open for others, it allows them to share. So to me, it sounds like your experience there opened you up, allowed you to be open. And now you you invite it in on your terms, especially with those you love and care about and your grandkids, for sure. Right. So that's what I'm seeing when I see that. Maybe the word doesn't quite fit, but that's what I'm feeling when you say that.
Cool.
I just wanted to mention one other thing with regard to how this has changed me, because I used to use the coaching hammer all the time. It came out anytime I heard somebody say something or complain about something, or something's not working for somebody. I would start asking them questions like, hey, what do you want to do about that? How can I support you? I would just go in and ask all the cliche coaching questions. And when I first got into coaching, would have been like 2007, 2008. I was getting back with my wife, and there was a lot of challenging conversations. So I asked her a lot of questions, and she didn't always appreciate being coached. And she would actually tell me, I don't want to be coached right now. So I had to learn how to use my abilities in that way, but not force it on people. Now she invites it and she'll come ask for it. She's like, I need Ian. I need Coach Ian to help me out with something. But at one point she was like, yeah, I just want my husband. Or my boyfriend. I don't want to coach. So it's being, having some discernment as to when to use the coaching and when not to use the coaching.
Yeah, that can be the turning on and turning off, like what, and wonderful that we have spouses that will ask for it, but also, let us know when, look, I'm not into that right now. But I think that kind of ties in with clients. They often come to you wanting coaching, and you may get that, like, I don't want that right now. So how do you allow permission for people, again, as always, to choose what they want in the moment? And I remember one client calling me, and I was coaching her, and she was really resisting. Like, she had a practice, and we were talking about what had happened the last week, and she was just going like it was. And I said, okay, what do you want right now? She said, I don't know. I know I'm resisting. I don't know what I want. I said, great. Why don't you journal that? There's something there for you. So instead of us I knew the conversation was done. She was not interested, ready to be in that moment. And I really felt it for her, and I honored it. I said, it's okay. You need to really be strong about where you're at. This is part of owning your own development. And right now you're resisting. Why don't you spend some time in resistance? Next week, just journal where you're at. Within 2 days, she wrote me, goes, oh my God, thank you for giving me that space. And the next time she came, she was ready, and she got to process on her own what was getting in her way. So I think that's so key, in that we have to be mindful and careful we don't push what we think the coaching part of our work on others. Just like advice giving, like any contribution you're trying to show up with others, to be aware when they don't want it or they're not ready, and honor that.
It's the trusting that they have the right answers inside of themselves. If they're not ready, they're not ready. I had a similar situation with a client who came to me for XYZ project, and I thought they needed to work on another piece, but they weren't ready for it. So when we would always start off with like a dump of information, and then I would like kind of gather them and thematically put them back out. It's like, which do you want to work on today? And I'd be like, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Or is it this? And I thought it should be this. This is the one that for me is your biggest stumbling block in my head. And she's like, I'm willing to work on this and this and this. I'm not ready to touch that. Okay. I totally understand. We'll work on what you want to work on. So I have to honor that that's the right thing for her to work on at that moment in time. She may have too many things on her. I think this is what this was. There was too many things to handle. That's too big a bite. These are manageable pieces that I can manage right now. I will tell you when that is the right piece. We never got to it. She wasn't ready. Again, her journey, not mine. And I don't know what that hesitance was because I wasn't privy to it, and nor should I be. It's none of my business. None of my business. I'm there to support them with what they need as they need it. So yeah, coaching's had a massive impact on me.
I'm grateful. What came up for me with when you were speaking is that I've learned that with any conversation translating, I'm more hesitant now when I think I have something important to say to somebody that I think will be helpful. Because I ask myself, who's it for? What's the purpose of me? Because I want to show them I just have this urge that's important to, I know it's important. They should know. So I'm much more reserved would be the word. I just have this ability to wait, the patience to wait, to see if it's needed. So that is also something I'm grateful for as I've journeyed along these last 20 years in everyday conversations. Just, I don't always have to say what's in my head.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. I was actually having a similar thought just in doing a workshop. You've got a finite amount of time to get stuff out there. And is what I have to say, even though it's super cool, is it necessary? And oftentimes it's from my own ego that wants to get out that little quip or joke or nugget, makes me look good, but it's not serving the overall goal. So it's taught me some restraint also. And that's the awareness. I think that's where, when you're present and aware, you can make that, you can discern between, is it me that needs it? Or do I really think they need it? And maybe I'll make that decision also. No, this has to come out. And I'll trust that with restraint.
Well, two things. And, this has been our mantra for a long time now in these times. Less is more. So, we've got a lot already that we are absorbing these days. So, that's the constraint process for us, is realizing people's cups are already overflowing. So to be very aware of how much capacity do we have these days in that person right now? Is their cup full? Because we've talked about this, and this is the last thing I'll say, is we need processing time. We're humans. We need to go away and rest and muse. And I cycle things for several days, to discern what I'm going to say or do. I've become very aware of that. And I think others need that space to process and discern.
100%. On that note, on less is more, I'm going to go with less and not say anything. So thank you for proposing this topic. I think it's fun to see how people have shifted and changed based on something that's important to them. And this definitely was important to us. All right. So we'll see you next week with another exciting coaching topic.
Bye.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye.